Hello, how we doing?
Good. How are you?
All right.
Yeah.
Anybody else out there that's gonna unmute themselves? There we go. You good? Did he back and mute himself back again? I guess he did. All right. All right. So it's your meeting. What is it that anybody wants to ask the broker? Does anybody have any specific questions they need to ask me? It won't be a long meeting if we don't.
Yeah, actually, I've always been curious, Steve. How did you get into investing? Because I know a lot of your business is development, investing in properties. How did you get into that? I'm not saying that I'm looking to do that tomorrow, maybe Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday's a good day. Yeah,
Yeah.
always Thursdays. Thursday. It was a point of reference early on that I wanted to do that because I wanted to own and build. And there was a company that I first started with, which was Century 21 Tullish and Clancy. It's now just called Tullish and Clancy. The owner, well, both owners, but one of the owners I didn't see too often. His name was Jack Tullish. He kind of ran a Quincy operation they had, but not very well. He had a couple of issues, so he wasn't working as much. But then his brother, who had his name was Bob Tullis, Bob, a little background, went into the service and they lost the H in his name and he never replaced it. So he just changed it to Bob Tullis. And he and Joe Clancy would be with each other every day. They went to a lot of auctions. They bought at a lot of auctions. They flipped a lot of property, but they also owned a lot. And his exact words are, if you're going to be in real estate, you should own property too. And it makes more people millionaires than any other business that there is. And later on in life, you can be wealthy with the equity and owning the property. And he never sold any of his 2 families, 3 families, 4, excuse me. He always kept his properties. He was a retired from the service. He did, I think, 25 years or so, maybe a little more, as a Navy man. And every day he would try to, like I said, go to auction. Sometimes they bought more than one a day, but I think he owned 70 or 80 pieces. Bob just passed away last year, a year and a half ago. And the first house that I bought was, Bob said to me to get in the car with him. He was going to show his brother's property and Joe's. They were partners, he and Joe, Jack and Joe. Besides owning Tullish and Clancy, some multi-families. One was a 2-family in Braintree. So I went with him and he says, if these 2 kids that I'm going to meet here don't buy this property, you should. He says, you can make the numbers work. So I bought that because the other kids didn't want it. They thought it needed too much work. It had paneling, this, that, and the other thing. I didn't care about that. So I bought that for $165 back in 92, maybe 92. And then did some work to it. And at one point, all I had to do was cover the taxes, the water bill, and the exterior maintenance. Everything else was just, I lived there for nothing. Then I 1031 part of that. I was working with another guy building some houses. So I bought a lot from the company that we owned for $1. And then I sold that property, built my house, and took the other half and bought another piece of property so I didn't have to pay capital gains because half of it would have been capital gains because I didn't live in one half of the two families. So then I learned what a 1031 was. Just been doing it ever since.
Wow.
That's it in a nutshell, Barry. There you go. So go buy a 2-family or right nowadays it's a lot of money. You're better off buying a 3 or a 4.
Oh, really?
It's tough to get a 2 for a price that's going to make any sense.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to live there. Yeah, the 2 families are too much. I mean, I just sold one. I had bought that property in '94. We built it. Me and another fella, and then he kept a piece of land. I kept that. We kind of drew a straw. Which one do you want? And I sold that last November for $710, and I'm buying something else with that money.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 710 is too much to buy an investment property unless it's bigger.
Like a
There's
3
not
or
enough,
4.
there's not enough money there.
Thanks, Steve. That's helpful. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've been looking in like the Quincy area, and everything's just so high. It's like I don't know if you'd ever, it'd be more risky than let's say 2012 or something
Yeah,
to now.
I would go somewhere else other than Quincy.
Yeah, I know. I always just keep an eye on the multifamily because passive income is where it's at. But I know, right? I'm like waiting for him to dip down, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah, you could go to other areas like Holbrook, Abington, Rockland. You can still a 3 or 4 family. If you buy a 4 family with 4 1-bedrooms, that's a pretty good place to be there. It's usually just going to be a single or a couple there.
Yeah.
So it's a little easier to maintain. Your financing's different. Unless you're going to live there, then you can still put down a minimal amount. But once you go past that 4 family, and it's just going to be an investment, even a 2 family, if it's just an investment, they're going to ask you to put down 20 to 30%. So it's pretty tough if you think about it. As I said, 710 for a duplex. I sold it 30%, $210,000. I mean, it's a lot of money to put down on a property.
Yeah.
Most of them today, that's why, like South Boston, if they buy a multi, they're just going to condoize it because it's the only way you get your money back. It just costs too much money to sit on. A little further out, though. Like I said, the Halifaxes, the middle boroughs, but then, you're just that much farther away from wherever you need to be for work.
How does Taunton look?
If I would, I get something in Taunton, I'd rather have 50 units. That way I can have somebody there to keep an eye on it. I don't want to be driving to Taunton to change a bulb in the hallway for a 4 family. You follow me? It's just, you're not around to look at it. You're kind of an absentee landlord. People will definitely take advantage of you. The closer to home, the better. I know people that stay within maybe 6 to 10 miles of their house. I'm in Weymouth, Abington, Holbrook, Braintree. So I'm Hanover now. But they're all, what's that? None of them are more than probably 10 minutes from my house. 10, 15 minutes. But if you get real big stuff, then you can go further out.
Now, I have a buyer that lives in Taunton, and she wants to sell her house, and she's not sure what she wants to move to, but one of the options she wants to look at is maybe like a 2-unit multi. So, I mean, she wants to stay in Taunton, so I'm just like trying to find out maybe what you know about Taunton, for something with a 2.
I know a fellow that owns a 5. I just saw him the other day. He said he might sell it. I grew up with him. He's in Taunton, but he lives in East Bridgewater. He likes it. If you're there's certain towns that have the reputation might be a little rougher than others.
Yeah.
So you got to deal with. But I've had people that drive BMWs that pay me later, try not to pay, and other people that drive a car that looks like it shouldn't be driven that pay on time. So as long as you I usually go with good credit. I make sure that they have some references. I don't want them to smoke anything. And then my wife will be the one who will rent it. And then they meet me and I said, now you met the good cop, I'm the bad cop. I really don't want to be your friend. I say it nicely, like this is more of a business thing. I'll be friendly, fix things that need to be fixed. But I'm not going over there to have a hamburger or anything. You gotta, I mean, I got people I know that rent from me. One of them is a friend, and he's always had a little difficulty just being who he is. So he'll work some of his pay off sometimes for me, but it's a dumpy building that should be torn down. It will be at some point. So I keep it warm with some, certain tenants that I might not normally have, just the way it is. But you got to tell people you stay. If you pay, you stay. If you don't, you go. And if they don't pay, you give them a little bit, and then you just start doing the notices. They'll understand. You can't be real friendly. You just got to be business-like, but business-friendly.
If we're looking at a property at let's say, again, 2 units, that she wants to live in one, rent out the other.
Yeah.
But if there's already a current tenant in there at will, can she, once she buys a house, can she just throw them out, or is there a?
Yeah, 30-day notice to ask them to leave. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll probably need a little more.
Hmm.
You could also ask for the current landlord, current owner to ask them to move too.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that.
Okay.
I'm not sure if this is the right form for this question, but I had some questions on escalation clauses.
Escalation clauses. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just trying to understand, so I had an offer approved that I used an escalation clause on, and the agent that accepted the offer said in my offer, I asked to see proof of the next highest offer if they chose the escalation clause. And they won't provide the other offer. They said it's not ethical to share the other offer. So I'm just I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, I just don't know if I feel comfortable with my client paying 15 grand over the asking price without any proof that, there was a bid below that or above the asking price, but below her price. I would just, for my own, peace of mind, I was just trying to understand if you've seen anything like that or heard anything like that.
I know of escalation clauses. They've been given to me on a listing. I've never written one up. I'm not too keen on it because of what you're talking about. So somebody could be taking advantage and you just don't know.
Totally.
So that's more on you because you're the buyer's agent. You represent the buyer, and then the buyer has to make a decision that they're okay with it, that they'll still pay the 15 over.
Yep.
But I can see that. I can see them not. I can see the seller's agent not wanting to give you the other offer. There, it says right in the listing agreement, you have 3 choices. You can, as a listing agent, you ask your seller, and then you try to guide them on which choice to take. Out of the 3, one might be you can say there's an offer, but you can't tell the terms or the price. One of them will say there is an offer and you can tell them what the terms and the price is. The other one says you can tell them what the price would be or the offer price. If you ever see that in the listing agreement, it's the second page near the bottom. So if they sign something that says they can't tell you, then they can't. You follow me? You know which one I'm talking about, that listing agreement?
I'll take a closer look. I'll have to take a closer look at it. But I'm going there at 3:00 to meet with the agent to get documents for the HOA, and I was just gonna ask her about it, but I was kind of curious to see if there was any sort of principle or best practice, and I think that's helpful, definitely.
I just had one of those signed today. I always have them check off. I think it's the middle box. It says, as a list agent, I could tell another agent if they ask if there is an offer, but I can't tell the other agent what the terms or the offer might be.
Hmm.
And that's just the way it should be. That way they go, okay. You know, they either go back to their client, because if you told them what the terms were, maybe they can make the terms better. If you told them what the price is, it'd be like the price is right. They go up $1 or some bullshit or 100.
Hmm.
Where in essence, they might be thinking of going up 15 just so they can get the property. So you don't want to take away from your seller.
Hmm.
And I can agree with what the agent's doing. I don't like them escalation clauses. I don't.
Yeah, this is my first time using it, and it feels a little sketchy because it's you know, so they say, yep, that sounds good based off the escalation clause, but then we put a new offer in and take the text out that that discuss the actual escalation clause. It just seems
Yeah.
like you're doing something sketchy, even though, ultimately the buyer's happy to get the house, so they don't, they don't care. I'm just in the background, I guess, second guessing myself
Yeah.
and questioning it,
Yeah, I can understand that, but you did what your buyer wanted, and you took it out. Excuse me. Now all you have is the amount that they're paying for it. So that's all. Now you just have to hope it appraises.
It's actually cash. Which is great, but it's got it's a unique place. It's got a land lease. It's like it's a kind of like in Leisure Woods in Rockland. There, if you buy something, you don't technically own the land, but you own the house, the real property.
It's a condo.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's owned by like Hometown America. It's called Live Oaks in Rockland,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's unique to me. So it's just
Yeah, it's a different animal. So all they do, you know what? Oh, you don't even. There's not even a. You're gonna do a bill of sales probably.
yeah, I forget.
What kind of building is it? Is it a fabricated building or does it have a foundation that's on the ground?
It's a fabricated building, but it sits on a foundation. So it's modular, but it sits on, like, there's a slab foundation that it sits on.
Is there a deed for it or is it a bill of sales?
Um,
You ought to check with that list agent and see how it works.
yeah, that's a good question. I'm gonna ask her because I know it's like a car kind of. It's got like a VIN number, and it's so
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
It's not going to be. It's going to be a probably. It won't be a deed. It'll just be a bill of sale. You can close tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what it seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, there is no closing.
Yeah, well, that's good.
It's a little different. It's a different animal altogether. I did it. I think I've done it twice, where you do set up a closing. People meet. There could be an attorney involved. Should be somebody, and I don't know who it would be that does these, but it really is just it's like selling a car.
Yeah, it's funny. So yeah, so we were trying to figure out if we need to get an agent or an attorney involved, or not. We have the attorney that we worked with is a family friend who we worked with in selling my buyer's house, but where it's a different animal, where they're buying into something that's cash buyer, where they've drafted the bill of sale. I mean the purchase and sales already. The listing agent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd take a look at it. Talk to the list agent.
Yeah.
There must be somebody at the homeowners association that may be able to direct you to others that have done it there. Because you have to get a 6D, I guess. It sounds like you have to get something that says that the HOA is paid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah. Right. How else can I be helpful?
Hi, Mr. Zeboski. I'm John Carlo Paredes. I just started with the office. I wanted to just formally introduce myself.
You say it was John?
Yes, yes.
Hi, John. How are you?
Hi, nice to meet you.
Pleasure. What's going on with John today?
On the road, trying to get some activities done today currently.
All right. Well, let me know if you need something. Now you
Absolutely.
see my good looks. You can get my phone number too, so
Yes, sir.
I'm here and around, so it's all good. So
Steve,
who
before
else?
I jump off, I was out the other day and I was telling my next door neighbor that I'm working at Keller Williams in Braintree, and they asked if I knew you. It was Ron Myers.
Oh, Ronnie Myers, you live on Arnold Street?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I used to work with Ron many years back.
Yeah, he's a good guy. But I thought he said to tell you he was asking about him.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, he's a good guy. We used to work next door together when I got out of high school. I drove a concrete truck and some dump trailers, and he worked for the same company as a mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a
Cool.
good mechanic, and he's a good guy. His family's nice. Marie, they have a young, or not young any longer, but their daughter. They probably have grandkids now.
Oh, Sue. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sue and yeah, I think he's got one granddaughter. It's too
Right.
funny.
good for him. He drives a nice old car too. Does he drive that old Chevy around?
No, he got rid of it. I was shocked because he had it for so many years. He had two
Yeah.
of them, I think, over time.
I was surprised too then.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, thank you for your time. I'm gonna jump off. I
Anytime.
appreciate it.
All right.
Bye.
Let's see you. So we're down to three of us. You guys got to keep me busy here.
So, can you throw a hand grenade through that door and not hit anybody now?
Me in the back?
Yeah.
I can. No, there's people out back there. There's people.
No? Yeah.
Just Kelly.
Oh.
Everybody else is moving out. We're all like, well, Dennis is still here, but he's not in too often.
Yeah.
And we're all getting ready to go down the bottom of the hill at some point.
Mhm.
How's your wife doing? I haven't seen her in a bit.
She's good. She's at the restaurant right now. She got a
Oh.
shift. Yeah. She's been busy. Always busy.
Is it busy down there at the restaurant?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for
I
her.
mean, hopefully they can keep the patio open now that the weather's getting chillier. It's not as busy, but they make
I
good
would
money
think.
on that patio.
Right. So John, when did you start real estate?
2018, sir.
Okay, who did you work for before this?
I was situated in Boston my first year with Back Bay Pads in Alston.
What
And
did they primary do? What was their primary business?
They're mostly rentals.
Yeah.
Demetrius Salgapo was the broker, and he kind of dominated the market in Boston with all the rentals, that business they were doing. And afterwards, I switched to residential, and I worked for Kelly and Rigi in Milton
Oh, yeah.
under Paul Ricci.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think they're as busy as they used to be, are they?
I believe the business has slowed down significantly.
Yeah. Okay. And what part are you doing with KW now? Are you in residential sales? You trying to do rentals? What are you working on?
Yes. I'm currently focused on the residential for the Latino market. I just started to branch over in the East Boston area, and
Oh, cool.
trying to pick up as many leads as possible.
Yeah, it's a good area to be in. That's a busy place in East Boston right now.
Oh, with Everett and Chelsea growing up in the market, East Boston has just dramatically increased in terms of value.
Good. That's a good niche to be in. Again, if you need me, I'm here.
Absolutely. I have a ton of questions that I probably can't fit on this call, so I just wanted to just introduce myself and kind of get to know you a little more.
Anytime you can ask a question. Which one of the ton is the most important to you?
Well, I guess currently it just is it the commission rate? Is it set at 6%?
That's a good question to start with. If you can get 6%, hooray for you. You can teach us what you're doing.
Okay.
I'm going to say that it varies. It's not a set percentage throughout the industry. It seems to be like 4, 5, or 6.
Okay.
Seems to be what it is. Now, if you're in Boston, that could be 5%, might be the average in Boston. You want to make sure that you treat your fellow agents fairly in regards to a co-broke, so they'll work with you again. You don't want to put less than probably what you'll get on a 50-50 idea. So if you're getting 5%, you might want to do 2.5. There are agents that don't do it that way. You probably want to, the better the commission, the more often that property is going to be shown than if you try to send out a low commission to a fellow agent. They're gonna, it will hurt you, and it kind of hurts your client if the house isn't being shown because you tried to do a cheap commission.
Okay.
But look in the area you're working in. Some of the areas, like Hingham, might be more money than it is, more money than, let's say, Braintree or Weymouth, and they get a higher commission sometimes than people in Quincy, Braintree, and Weymouth. That's the way it works. And I think Boston's probably 5%.
5%. Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The do not call list, they were talking about it this morning at Ignite. How do we get access to that in the office? They kept saying you have to check with the market center. Make sure you're not calling people that are on the list.
I think you can get that do not call list on, I'd have to look it up. We've had problems with that in the past.
Oh,
We've had recently the office is in the middle of being asked to give this is the second time it happened on this house. It kept expiring. People would call.
oh,
The mother was on a do not call list. Her son, who was an attorney but doesn't practice as an attorney, called for some money. The first time we gave him a little bit, the agent had to, or he was going to take us to court, but the agent was kind of very persistent on calling, even though he was asked not to, they said. And then it happened again, but this time our agent, I think it's frivolous, but the agent might give a little money just to have it go away. We first said no. I told him, when he called me again, I told him, the attorney, I says, listen, they're just trying to make a living. He said, well, but I didn't like the way he asked. He says, if you give us some money, I won't bother with you. And I told him to take a hike. And then he, sent in this, they've taken me to court, taken us to court. I called an attorney and I said, just see what this guy's all about. Tell him to go away. We thought he did. Then all of a sudden he came back and it was minimal, like 4 seconds, 2 seconds, 5 seconds, but it was all recorded. So I don't know the exact spot for the do not call list. I think it's an individual each agent should get, but I don't remember where we got it last time. I don't know who got it and where we got it. And it varies. It varies. It could be 1 minute they're on it, and I don't know if they can, if they fall off of it after a period of time. I don't know how it works. There's ways that people ask so they don't get in any trouble. Somebody else that might be selling in your neighborhood instead of them asking. But it's kind of a nuisance.
yeah.
It's good to have.
Okay. Yeah,
I think you just get it yourself. I think that's your best bet. But I don't know where. I don't know if it's a government agency or not.
all right. I think I'm all left out.
All right. John, anything else?
Well, I did want to ask you also, basically, if there was any question about going to the new office versus going, because I started off with Lisa and Rick, and they kind of transferred me over to the new office. So flexibility with going to either one with appointments or either, going with appointments or any type of business for that matter.
You want to know if you can use it?
Essentially, I mean, was there any conflict at all going to either or?
No, it's all under the same umbrella.
Okay, great.
No. Are you on their team still?
No, Donna switched me over to your team because she said her and Alicia said it was much easier to get started with KW with the new office because it's the expansion and everything.
Well, you said, but you were working with Lisa and Rick?
To get started originally, they kind of put me on board.
All right. But you're not under their team umbrella any longer?
No, I'm okay.
All right, so you're on your own. So you can be anywhere you want to be.
Okay, all right, just clarifying that. I was
Yeah,
in
you want to
limbo
pop
for a
in,
minute.
there's
Yeah.
areas down there you can just sit up like you're sitting at a local lounge or at a breakfast bar set up. There's workstations,
Okay.
so you can use a workstation.
Okay, I didn't want to be stuck in limbo, Mr. Zeboski, because
Yeah,
it'd be tough to kind of. I have a client I'm working with now, and I was going to ask yourself or Rick who I would go to for help because they would be looking for assistance on certain things that I would use for any type of advice, essentially.
all right, yeah, no, you can do that. Either way,
Okay.
you have conference rooms here, you got conference rooms in Quincy. Wherever you gotta go to make it work for you. All right.
Okay. I'll keep that in reference. Then, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. What do you got, Barry? What'd you have for lunch today? Anything?
Haven't had lunch yet.
You better hurry up. I'm getting hungry.
You haven't had lunch?
No, I ate. I already ate. I did.
I was going to ask you where you were taking me for lunch.
Yeah, there you go. Good idea. We're gonna go to Marshfield.
All right.
Yeah,
Good food.
it is good food.
Um,
So if you fellas don't have anything, we'll sign off. If you do, when do you have? If I can,
well, the only thing that always comes up with me is, where I see so many people doing the expireds and the FISBO calls and the cancels. That's why that whole thing with the do not call us comes up. I mean, I'm imagining people are getting really harassed by all these calls.
they can tell you not to call. A lot of times, for the most part, I haven't heard anybody else other than this one fella getting uptight about somebody calling an expired listing on his parents' property, which is now sold. It was in Situate. That was the only time I ever heard. Keep in mind, a lot of these people, if it's a FISBO, the house is on the market, so you can call them. The house is on the market. They're trying to sell it. And if it's an expired, it was on the market, and those people wanted to sell anyways. So they're going to be getting a few phone calls.
Okay.
And if they say, I've gotten other phone calls from a KW agent, you say, well, that just shows you how aggressive we are. We're here to try to get your house sold. We list a lot of property. That kind of takes care of, it comes from your same office idea.
Yeah.
Again, they were trying to sell. They might want somebody else to come out and talk to them.
Okay. So it's
You
worth
can
a
always,
try.
as I said in the past, search for land. That's a different animal a lot of people don't use. That's a whole, I've taught that in the past. I know it's a lot because every town's different with their zoning, but if you get involved in chasing land and you got a builder on board that will work with you to sell the houses afterwards, then it's kind of a twofer for one piece of property. That's how I always looked at it. I like chasing land. I'm in between a few things now, but I called an agent on a property that I know he understands land. He had it listed, then it came off the market. The sign was still there. I drove by and then I put an offer in and they accepted it. And it's a contingency offer where somebody else put an offer in, they didn't accept it. But I decided to try to get more units on there, which I think I can. And I said, I'm not going to buy it without having the ability to get it permitted for what I want.
Mhm.
But I'll pay a couple $1,000s more if you wait. And then I'm probably do a 1031 exchange. So,
I have one more question. Sorry, Barry, I've been seeing you on a lot of these calls, and I just wanted to also introduce myself to you. Are you new, or how long have you been with the company?
About a year.
Okay, great. Sorry, just wondering.
Haven't done much. I just did finally have a sale.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Working on buyers now.
he's supposed to buy the office lunch. It's like a hole-in-one in the golf course, buddy. On his first sale, but we haven't had lunch yet, so I don't know what he's thinking.
Right.
He's using the pandemic as an excuse. All right, so are we gonna want to close early? We good with that?
Okay.
John, you good with that?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, where are
Thank you,
you at?
Steve.
You sound like you got a lot of people in the background.
I'm at the RMV. I've been just doing my real ID license that I've been postponing for the last.
Oh, okay. All
Sorry
right.
about that.
No worries here. Just checking. No worries.
I didn't know they were open.
I guess they are. Wherever he is, there's plenty of people there. All right, so we're good.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Anytime, check
All right.
in with me if you need some help.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you.
Thank you again.
Take
See
care.
ya.
Bye, John.
Bye, Barry.
October 2020.